Have you ever had chocolate like this? No, you've never had chocolate. Never had chocolate. Before we get into the video, I just want to quickly plug my latest short film, The Brothers' Failure, a mockumentary. Based on a true story, Hamza Boujelloua, a young, naive filmmaker, has an ambitious dream to bring his fantasy short film to life. Witness him and his friends embark on the journey of attempting to create the Brothers' Blade and realize his artistic vision. A lot of time, a lot of love, and a lot of passion went into it, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys gave it a watch. Click the link in the description to watch it, or go to the front page of my YouTube channel and it's right there on the homepage. I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, onto the video. When it comes to Wonka, the thing I just have to say is never ever doubt Paul King. This man, this director, is a fantastic filmmaker. I absolutely adored Wonka. Yes, I was looking forward to it, but actually watching the film, what a charming, delightful, wonderful, adorable, heartwarming, light and fluffy story that's both really engaging and really entertaining to watch. Everything about this film is just wonderful and delightful. Everything from the cast, to the story, to the cinematography, to the songs, to the musical set pieces. It's wonderful. The thing that I think is so baffling about this film is the fact that Warner Brothers didn't put enough effort into the marketing. Wonka is very much a family film for the holidays, yet they didn't market it as such. The studio has put such little effort into the marketing that I think it's doing the film a massive disservice. The trailers, whilst I enjoyed them, did the film a massive disservice because there's so many people going, Timothée Chalamet is not weird enough to be Wonka, and oh, the film looks kind of bland and boring. No. Never doubt Paul King. This film is incredible. It's so joyous. I hope this film does well in the box office. I hope it has legs like The Greatest Showman. Also, the thing that just baffles me the most is the fact that this film is a musical, yet they never marketed the film as a musical. Honestly, I find it so baffling too because Paul King even came out at one point and said, oh no, it's not a musical. And then all of a sudden he was like, no, it's a musical. I was like, wait, so which is it? Is it musical or is it not musical? Watching the film, it's a musical. Now, Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. My boy, Willy Wonka, chocolate, Willy Wonka, chocolate man, Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka, chocolate man, Willy Wonka, chocolate.
I thought Timothée Chalamet was the perfect young Willy Wonka. I always believed in him from the get-go, but I need the haters to take back all the mean comments about him as Wonka because honestly, when you watch the film, he's perfect. I do think the trailers did his performance a massive disservice, but at the end of the day, he was still fantastic. I was still looking forward to watching him as Wonka in the trailers. But also, when I look at the casting of Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka, it makes sense. He has the build, he has the physique, he has the look. That very slender, pointed look. He just looks like Willy Wonka. And when you look at the other casting choices and potential actors that were going to play Willy Wonka, like Tom Holland or Jeremy Allen White, whilst I'm sure they would have done a good job, and honestly, if you're doing an actual prequel to the original Willy Wonka film starring Gene Wilder, and if you specifically wanted to tell that story of that young Willy Wonka, then yeah, you get Jeremy Allen White because Jeremy Allen White looks exactly like Gene Wilder. It's uncanny. But as for the story of Paul King's Wonka, Paul King's Willy Wonka, Timothée Chalamet is perfect. The depth and range this film manages to instill in the character of Willy Wonka is fantastic. The relationship he has with his mother is infinitely better than the Johnny Depp backstory in that film. Look, I don't hate Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. I don't mind what he's doing in that film. In many ways, Tim Burton's Willy Wonka film is a story about a more neurodivergent Willy Wonka. So I don't hate his interpretation. I grew up with it. I like it. And Gene Wilder is obviously Gene Wilder. He is Willy Wonka. He is the perfect Willy Wonka. But the depth Paul King and his co-writer Simon Farnaby instill into Wonka and his relationships is so sweet and so tender. The depth the writing manages to give Wonka is so really kind of tragic in a way. He believes that when he shares chocolate with the world, his dead mother will be there by his side, and when he opens his chocolate shop and it burns down and he breaks down, there's that moment where he's talking to Noodle and he's kind of tearing up a bit. He's like, oh yeah, no, I really believe my mom was going to be here. Such good writing. And a lot of what works with that also has to be attributed to Timothée Chalamet. The way he's able to sink into those lower emotional moments but not completely change the character. It's just, it feels natural. It's that character breaking down a bit, but also he isn't going to start weeping and crying. He's going to be sad, but he's immediately going to pop back up and try and bounce back. Not to mention the fact that by the end, the film does a wonderful thing that the Gene Wilder film also did, and it's something that I realized when rewatching the Gene Wilder film, and that is the fact that Willy Wonka is a really tragic character. He's a man that wants to give so much. He wants to spread so much joy to as many people. He wants to make many people smile. He wants to give people everything. But when he takes a step back and looks at the things he's created, he doesn't really have anything for himself. No one is there to give him something. He doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have children, which is why he does the competition with the golden ticket so that he can get Charlie to be his new heir of the chocolate factory. And you see that tragic element at the end of the film when Wonka reunites Noodle with her mother. It's both a really joyful moment, but it's also really sad and heartbreaking because on Chalamet's face, he's, you know, singing Pure Imagination. He's like, if you want to view paradise, simply look at them and view it. But the way he delivers it, his voice kind of like cracks a little bit and you're like, oh no, Willy's gonna be a lot. Oh no. I also just love the fact that his Willy Wonka is also just a good man. You see it in the opening musical number where he's walking around the Gallery Gourmet with 12 silver sovereigns in his pocket and a hat full of dreams. Give me a year and I'll know all these songs off by heart. He's going around the Gallery Gourmet with limited money, but he's out there helping people, making sure he does the right thing. If he breaks something, he'll pay for it and such. And he gives away his second to last sovereign on a woman and her child that are freezing in the dead of night. What a good man. What a good character. That's Willy Wonka. Another aspect of Timothée Chalamet's Wonka that I really liked was his kooky side, because in the trailers people were like, he's not kooky enough, he's not zany enough to be Wonka. But when you watch the actual film, he is.
So quiet up and listen down. Nope, scratch that. Reverse it.
Granted, there may be one or two moments where I didn't entirely buy the energy he was giving, but for the most part, I loved what he was doing. There are actually many points where he's being very big and wild, where he reminds me of SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't know why, I just see SpongeBob energy, and I kind of loved it.
Woo! There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. An endorsement from Mr. Wait, the worst?
Yes! Yeah! Oh, better luck next time, buddy. Woo!
But also, I think a very good example of his kooky energy is seen in the first iteration of You've Never Had Chocolate Like This. In jungle near Mumbai, there's a little hoverfly whose wings flap out 1,000 beats a second, that's no lie. These microscopic fleas like chocolate more than Lee. It gives a happy yell, woohoo! How thrilling to be living in a chocolate hotel. Calah Lane as Noodle was also fantastic. I loved her relationship with Willy. It was so warm and wonderful and sweet. The scene that absolutely sold me on their dynamic was the scene at the zoo where Willy and her are milking a giraffe, and then Willy finds out that Noodle has basically been depressed and sad her whole life, and so he decides to cheer her up by dancing with her, and then they dance around the whole zoo, and then they get on the balloons and such. You see it in the trailers. It's such a warm, delightful, absolutely wonderful scene, and it's just so sweet. And as I mentioned earlier, the scene where he finds Noodle's mother and then he reunites the two of them, oh, it's so heartwarming. It's so wonderful. When he starts singing Pure Imagination, it's like, Paul King, what are you doing to me, man? Why are you emotionally wrecking me like this? Come with me, and you'll be... The bad guys of the film, the Chocolate Cartel, were wonderful. Paterson Joseph as Slugworth was fantastic. I think he might have been my favorite, I don't know. But then Mathew Baynton as the other guy. I love Mathew Baynton. Like, that's my childhood horrible histories, man. Mwah. I love Mathew Baynton as well. I kind of wish he got a bit more, actually. Matt Lucas was also very good too. I love the bit where they have the hover chocolate and he's like, it's going to come out of our bodies. It's hilarious. I love the humor of this film. Sweet Tooth was just a fantastic musical number. It's so good. Do you have a sweet tooth? I do. A hunger that you have to feed. When you think about it, Paterson Joseph kind of actually stole the show as Slugworth. He was so good. Keegan-Michael Key as the police chief was also great. Olivia Colman was great. And of course, Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa. Incredible. I do wish there was more Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa, but I loved every time he appeared on screen. Like, that's kind of like fantastic casting of like the sarcastic little sidekick that just happens to be the Oompa Loompa. It's Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa. It's so good. Oompa Loompa Doompa Da Dee. I'm not in premium economy. Again, like I mentioned earlier, whilst I enjoyed them, I do think the trailers did a film a massive disservice, purely for the fact that it never really advertised the fact that this was a musical. The musical numbers I thought were fantastic, they were really well directed, the music itself was quite catchy. Can Timothée Chalamet sing? For the most part, I think so. There are some songs I do feel like he did struggle with a bit, but a thing that I also really liked about his voice was how it had a very natural quality to it. Like, Willy Wonka is the type of guy that doesn't take singing lessons, but he's so passionate that he just can't help but sing. But some of my personal favorite songs were A Hat Full of Dreams. 4, 5, 6? 6 silver sovereigns in my pocket, and a hat full of dreams. Both versions of You Never Had Chocolate Like This, but the big epic version of it was just so good. So the taxis never stop, The girls think you're a flop. Na 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 na. Your confidence is shot. Never had chocolate like this. A World of Your Own was great. A world of your own. A place to escape to. And of course, Pure Imagination. Like, come on. It's pure imagination. I love the reorchestration they did of it too, where it starts off slow and sad because it's Wonka giving away Noodle. But then when he and the Oompa Loompa go and build the chocolate factory, just, I love how upbeat it is. It's like the perfect ending to the film. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. This film made me tear up, and granted, recently, that's actually been quite a hard thing to do in films, but this film made me tear up in the exact same spot both times I saw the film. And no, it's not in the scene where Wonka wishes his mother was with him when he opens the chocolate shop. No, it wasn't the moment where Wonka sees his mum after he's successfully defeated the chocolate cartel. No, it wasn't the scene where Noodle reunites with her mum. It was the bit where they were in the chocolate factory. Willy's like, we'll begin with a spin. The camera spins around and he's spinning around and you see the chocolate factory slowly building around him. Like, yeah, that made me tear up, okay? It unlocked some kind of like nostalgic childhood memory because Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is one of my childhood favorite films. I absolutely love and adore it. And seeing the chocolate room, like, I don't know what happened, but I started tearing up. I was like, oh my god, it's my childhood. Oh, poor King, what are you doing to me? With me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. God, what a perfect way to end the film. It's just fantastic. Now, before we wrap things up, the question I want to pose is could they do a Wonka 2 if they wanted to? Because the film ends, and yeah, it doesn't really need a sequel, but you could do a sequel. Here's my pitch for how I would do Wonka 2. So quiet up and listen down. Nope, scratch that, reverse it. The film would open with Willy Wonka becoming internationally famous. Wonka stores open all over the globe, and Willy is essentially on an international tour. He goes to India and meets Prince Pondicherry, and they build the Chocolate Palace. When he's visiting a branch in Britain, he comes across a younger Grandpa Joe, and whilst this is all happening, the chocolate cartel scheme in prison and are put on trial. And through some weird legal means, they either have served their sentence or are released early on good behavior. They then scheme and plan and start to plot to ruin Wonka's empire. They infiltrate his international factories and stores and steal the secret recipes and sell their own versions of the products, making Wonka's sales plummet. Because once his special chocolate is no longer special, why should people spend their money on it? The film then ends with Willy closing his factory forever. And then by ending the film like that, you essentially set up Wonka 3 to be another adaptation of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Granted, I'm not demanding that they do a sequel to Wonka immediately. Like, they can do this in like 10 years time or something. Let Timothée Chalamet grow older and then wait another 10 years and then do Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or something. Look, at the end of the day, I absolutely loved and adored Wonka. Is it my favorite film of 2023? Yeah, probably. In a year that I thought was quite crap for film, I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed Wonka. It's the film that made me go, yeah, I want to see this as many times as I possibly can. Like, is Oppenheimer the better film? Probably. But in terms of enjoyment, I absolutely loved and adored Wonka. It really hit me in the soul. This is the film I needed all year. Would I have loved it even more if Dune Part 2 had come out as well? Yeah, but it's fine. Dune Part 2 would be my favorite film of 2024. To conclude, Paul King's Wonka is fantastic. It's a true delight. It's a true family film for everybody to enjoy. It's something that you definitely have to see in cinema just because of how pure and joyful it is. Now, everything needs to be dark and cynical. Wonka is just a pure delight, and I'm so happy it exists. Paul King is just cementing himself as a fantastic director, and I can't wait to see what he does next. But those are just my thoughts on Wonka. I absolutely adored it. I loved it. But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, follow me on social media, all that good stuff. Until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time. You have never had chocolate like this.